everybody. Welcome back once again to the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast here on the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. I'm your host, Gene Jackson, coming to you from the Retro Wrestling Archive here in beautiful Gadsden, Alabama. And please join me in welcoming back my co-host. They are the Corey Macklins to my Dave Brown. It's Josh Briley and Richard Mulliken of P3 Radio. Guys, how are we doing this morning?
We're here. We're hoping we don't get blown away by this storm that's coming through in the next couple of hours. You know, Jackson gets all of these great tornadoes every once in a while, and they've been promoting this one like it's WrestleMania for the past week. So I've got my window open and we're staring at the skies. But you know, if not, next week we'll do this show from a yellow brick road.
Speak for yourself, Pansy. I'm great, Gene. I'm fucking wonderful. I can't wait to do shit later on today. It'll be fabulous. How are you, man?
That's fabulous, Josh. I'm good. They're saying we're going to get some storms here later, but you know, we got the big, heavily promoted this is the end tornadoes a couple of weeks ago, and I mean they hammered us for a week. Like, this is it, guys. You know, kiss your children goodbye, you know, do whatever you're going to do, you know, have some sex, whatever it is you want to do right before you die, because this is it. And then it really wasn't all that much. So, but this one they're not hyping, which worries me, because that's the time shit happens, when they don't have you prepared for it. So you guys are probably good if they've been hyping it, but here we're liable to get blown away. But anyway, before we get blown away, we've got to make sure we get in this week's Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast, because by God, there's people out here who depend on us. So before we dive into this week's episode, though, we do have a few things that we need to plug. First of all, we want to mention that our great friend, the Spellbinder, Del Rios, will be appearing April 25th and 26th at the Squared Circled Expo in Indianapolis, Indiana. And you can get those tickets now at... Where's it at, Producer Smokey? Boom, there it is. Get your tickets now at squaredcirclex.com, which I'm assuming is 10, because it seems like they have done a bunch of these over the years. So
I'd never heard of this, but I looked it up when he messaged me and said he was going to be there, and I'm looking it up. I'm like, I don't know who's not going to be there. There is a cavalcade of wrestlers that are going to be at that thing.
Yeah, they load it up every year, and it seems to get bigger and better every year. And of course, it's going to be perhaps the best year yet, as our good buddy the Spellbinder is going to be there. So folks, make sure you get your tickets and check that out. Like Richard said, not only is Del Rios, the Spellbinder, going to be there, but a whole host of big time wrestling stars, some of your all-time favorites. So check it out.
They booked $1 million in case 500,000 didn't show up.
Well, clearly they know wrestlers, right?
It is the wrestling business, yeah.
Got to cover your ass. So, also, a very few people have known that for the past 3 or 4 months, I've had an additional project going on that I've been working on, along with my friend and podcast colleague, Doug Gilbert. And I'm proud to say that we have completed that project, which is a book on the life of Doug's brother, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. And it is now available for pre-order over at... Come on, Producer Smith. He's slow on the draw today. But there you can get it at tinyurl.com/Eddie Gilbert book, which is a lot more convenient link than what was getting passed around yesterday. I went and made one of these tiny URL gimmicks for it, so it's a lot easier to find. Got a lot of great feedback. It dropped yesterday, the pre-order did, and I heard from a ton of people who said they had either ordered it or were getting ready to order it. So that's pretty exciting.
That is awesome. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of work. I don't know if anybody realizes how much work was put into that. But I don't even realize how much work was put into that. I just can assume that is a mountain of a task. So kudos to Eugene for being involved with that. And,
Eugene was involved with this?
Why, yes.
Every week.
Mr. Densmore was in fact involved, but no, I appreciate it. It was we were given what I thought in the beginning was a crazy deadline. And we beat it by a month. So there's a lot to that story that'll get told over the, I'm sure, the coming weeks, as it's available for pre-order right now. But if you pre-order it now at the link tinyurl.com/Eddie Gilbert book, you will get it in your hands by May 15th. So
Nice.
right around the time that the Eddie Gilbert Dark Side of the Ring episode is going to be coming out. So I know that was the goal of the publisher, for us to get it done and get it out by then, and it looks like we've just about pulled it off. So really proud of that. It's a project that I started 15 years ago, and one that Doug's been working on off and on for years and years, and we finally decided to just sit down and make it happen. So really, really happy about that. Really looking forward to people, hearing stories and things about Eddie Gilbert that only his brother Doug would know to tell. So I think people are going to enjoy it. So be on the lookout for that. And also, speaking of me and Doug Gilbert, come say hello to Doug and myself, as we'll be at the EPW Crossroads Clash at the Crossroads Arena on Saturday, April 12th. I'll be doing some color commentary for television. Doug's going to be in action. And man, what a huge show that Neil Taylor and EPW have put together there, as you'll also be seeing WWE Hall of Famer Ricky Morton. Heath Miller, the former Heath Slater, is going to be there. Enzo Amore will be there. And check this out, guys. Appearing together at Crossroads Clash for the first time in a while, the APA, John Bradshaw Layfield and Farouk Ron Simmons will be in the house. Tickets are still available. EPWWrestlingMS.com for more details. Really looking forward to that one. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bradshaw, and some of his interviews, and I don't know what he was like when they were wrestling. You hear all the stories. Of course, rumors are rumors, but man, he really, you could tell from some of the stuff he's been doing with Conrad and his shows. He really respects the business, and he really has all these great stories. So that'll be really cool. And then, of course, you've got some other legends on there like Ricky Morton and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that'll be a great show to go out to. So if you're in the area, get down there and go see it.
And even if you're not in the area, I mean,
drive.
it's not that far of a drive from Memphis or Jackson or anywhere like that. Like I said, I saw the poster this past week on Facebook, and I was like, man, I may need to drive down there. That seems like it'll be really fun. I'm sure autograph opportunities before the show, probably.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Meet and greets with all those guys before the show. EPW has been doing some big stuff over there. They recently, on the episode that dropped yesterday, Scott Steiner was on there, and former WWE superstar James Ellsworth won their heavyweight title, and a lot of names passing through there these days. So looking forward to that Crossroads Clash and getting to call some of the action for TV.
And that's a huge endorsement from Josh, because he don't like leaving his house for anything. Like even groceries, he'll curse a Blue Street just having to go that way. So, I mean, anything but work and home, if he's saying he's going to drive to it, it's going to be a big event. So.
Yeah, it's worth looking into. If Josh is leaving the house, something big's going on. Josh hadn't left the house since that Memphis Hall of Fame thing back in October. So.
He wanted to leave early when we went to that.
Once Uncle Danny got his plaque, he's like, all right, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. I got stuff to do tomorrow.
He's like, if I have to hear anything else about Power Pro, I'm going to gag. Last but certainly not least, our very own Richard Mulligan has a big comedy show coming up at Cody's in Jackson, Tennessee on Saturday, May the 10th. I know you'll be performing on stage, Richard, and a rarity these days. I too allegedly will be performing some stand-up comedy along with a host of other very funny stand-ups. Tickets are available for that right now at codyscomedy.eventbrite.com. Tell us a little bit about that, man.
So I've been working on that all weekend. The wife has been out of town, so I've been putting together what I'm hopeful will be a nice little addition to the mix, because I don't like to just go up there and stand on a stage and hold a microphone. I like to give it a little sparkle, give it a little sizzle. So I've been putting into some time, and we've got everything booked up. We're ready to go. We've actually started selling tickets. We've sold a few tickets, and that's the biggest thing is tickets are sparse for this event. This is our first event here. There's only 200 tickets available, and they're going. So hopefully we'll have all our pre-sales done, and there won't be any at the door tickets. But as you can see in that flyer right there, tickets $7 in advance from that website, codyscomedy.eventbrite.com. And they can get all of those tickets there, and all the information's slowly coming out. But hopefully we'll have more tickets sold before we actually advertise it from the venue. But yeah, I mean, it's looking good. And Josh will be there, taking taking the Briley name and taking shitty photos of people. No, he'll be there hanging.
We will have a member of Josh's family there, yet to be identified, taking pictures before the show. So if you want to get, your picture with Richard with the top of his head cut off, come on down.
They'll be like, "Who was performing here? Their head's not on this."
I'll be way back in the back. You'll see the top of my head. Ironically, you'll only see the top of my head, and you won't see the top of Richard's head. Pretty tricky shot to get, but them Brileys can pull it off.
It's like, I don't even know how that's geographically possible that he took this picture like this, but he did. It's like there's no Photoshop, no nothing. Like I don't even know the angle.
It was shot through a prism.
but yeah, Josh will be there too. So if you enjoy this show, come out. We'll sign some things for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. VIP meet and greet.
Yeah, I'll be a nervous wreck before that show starts. Like you said, this is my first one.
If you want an autograph from Richard, you'll have to pass it through the bathroom stall before the show.
It'll look like Michael J. Fox signed it. I'll be so scared.
But yeah, hopefully it does well. Like I said, we've got a good cast of comics, and I think it's going to do really well. So, like I said, if you're in the area, even if you're not, drive down. It'll be about an hour and a half, 2 hour show, and then you can hang out at the venue. Like the venue does events afterwards, so they're gonna do their stuff afterwards. So you don't have to tab out and find somewhere else to go. You can just stay there for the rest of the night.
No, and you don't have to go hunting for a place to eat beforehand. They have food and drinks and everything you need is going to be right there. So just come out to Cody's and make an evening of it. It's going to be a great night. And if you want to check out the Hot Mike's post show of this on Patreon later, we'll probably talk a little bit more about kind of what goes into an event like that, and maybe what goes into writing a book. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the things we just plugged here. But holy shit, that's the most plugs we've ever done at the beginning of a show. So if you folks made it through without fast forwarding, bless your heart, and we appreciate it. But right now, guys, I guess we need to start getting into what people came for, and this week we have gotten another voicemail, and we're seeming to be upsetting folks almost weekly here, guys. And that's not our intention. We don't do this show to upset anyone or offend anyone, but we have gotten a voicemail from up on Moondog Mountain, and somebody ain't happy.
You must think that just because I live all the way on top of Moondog Mountain and my cell phone service is 2 out of 5 stars at best, that I don't hear what y'all been saying about us. You boys have been talking real all kinds of bad about me and my dogs. We've gone soft. We must have been banned from the hardware store, blah, blah, blah. Well, y'all about to witness what me and my dogs are all about, punk. And Richard Lee number 2, I wish I was right there right now. I'd be all over you like a pillar slip, brother. The dogs are off the leash.
Oh boy. That guy's like, he's got high blood pressure. He's chubby. I bet he can't run very fast. Let's kick his butt. So out of the three of us, I'm the one that gets targeted the most.
Well, honestly, out of the three of us, you specifically have the most hatred for the Moondogs. I think.
I don't think
you've been the most vocal about
there we go. I was going to say, I don't think I have the most hatred. I think I've been the one that's been more vocal about it. I think I sent y'all a text last night that said, I feel like with all these Moondogs Richard Lee's coming up with, he should be investigated for running a puppy mill.
You said a shitty puppy mill.
A shitty puppy. I did say shitty. I was like, well, look at it. I mean, if you bought a dog and they're like, I got a good one out back, and it looks exactly like the one you got and the one you had manes, you'd be like, hey, something, you're not taking care of these dogs right.
He looks like a 12-year-old neutered male dog, all fat.
Yeah, they're a little worse for wear, but him saying that he was going to be all over you like a pillar slip, just when I listened to that message, I was like, oh my God, this may be one of the best lines we've heard on here yet. And of course, the one guy that calls us mad seems to always know when Brian Trammell's going to be on, because he always, takes a shot at him, and then he usually miraculously ends up being here the same week he calls. It's like we have a mole on the inside that's stooging off when people are coming on or something. But anyway, so we'll definitely hear more from Richard Lee and the Moondogs. Never you worry later in this show. But so after doing these reviews of USWA episodes from 1993 for 10 whole months, this week is the first time we've ran into an issue of not having the Memphis version of the show, which means we're going to be missing a good bit of the original live version of the show from TV5. And when we go over the Memphis card, there's going to be some matches that will have been we've completely missed the setup from. We've talked about sometimes in the past where, these WWF guys have come into town and had a big title match or set up a match with Lawler or whatever the case may be. And we've talked about in the aftermath when going over the Observer notes that the matches featuring the WWF people, a lot of times all the setup to that was cut out of the other shows, because they weren't coming to Evansville, they weren't coming to Louisville, so they just didn't hear about none of that. It's like it never freaking happened. Well, this is the first time we're experiencing that. There's actually a whole nother element to this show that we didn't see here, and I scoured the internet trying to find the Memphis version. Checked with Ray Russell. He had the same version we have, probably in better quality, but not any more content. And the only thing I could find, I found where some other guy did a review of a Memphis wrestling show. It was that episode. I'm like, all right, well, this pains me, but let's listen to this guy. And so he starts out and he's like, yeah, Brian Christopher's wrestling Jeff Gaylord. Jeff Gaylord's a really good wrestler. I'm like, all right, you have no credibility.
Stop.
The minute you say Jeff Gaylord's a good wrestler, I don't give a fuck about anything that comes after that. You clearly have no, point of reference.
And he's about an 8.5 on the mic, too.
Yeah.
It's at that point.
His mic skills.
It's at that point you probably debated on going into your shed and digging through all those totes or whatever. Because I've got the same issue. Like I told you through text, I probably have the Memphis version of this show, but there's a very good chance that there may have 10 minutes in the front cut off. It's just whenever my granny pressed record.
And the tape that she recorded it on is going to be like half of Josh's birth video. And the other half is like, hello, everyone. Welcome to Memphis Championship Wrestling.
and maybe not, because usually I would find where it would be like a perfect recording if Uncle Danny would be on the show. And, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm pretty sure Uncle Danny's not here this week, even though the Eagles are. So we may not
have heard the tape abruptly cut. If you could hear the person talking as they were doing it, you'd hear, fuck, that's Tony Williams. And the recording just ends abruptly. But I do have some information from the Wrestling Observer that helps explain the part of the show and the key angles that we miss here. So when it comes time, we will cut to that and I'll read that and we'll at least get an idea of what we missed. But right now, Dave and Corey opened the show and they let us know that we have a new unified champion in the Macho Man, Randy Savage. We hear that Brian Christopher versus Jeff Gaylord will be opening up the show, which I don't know if you really want to tell people right out of the gate if you're fixing to see a Jeff Gaylord match. That feels like a channel changer to me. But plus, we'll see the debut of a new wrestler named Doomsday and the King and the Fabulous One in tag team action. So this one sounds like a winner, guys. So let's get right into it. Match number 1, Brian Christopher with Tony Adams taking on the Missouri Tiger, Jeff Gaylord. Brian's choice of tights this week reminded me a lot of Terry Funk. I didn't know if y'all caught that, but I'm not sure where they're finding these studio crowds recently, but they were chanting "Go Jeff, go" for Gaylord before the match even started. I mean, it's like they found a whole crew of people who've never seen him wrestle before, and actually were feeling some enthusiasm about it briefly, I'm sure. But and it should be noted right out of the gate here that after being gone for several months, namely for a stint in ECW alongside Eddie Gilbert, this marks the return of referee Kevin Christian. Who has been sorely missed because we've been short on referees, and the ones we have had, TD still, have left a lot to be desired, to say the least. So, to Brian's credit, he was making Gaylord look better in this one match than he's looked all year. I mean, he's letting Gaylord, if you're watching the video version of this, I mean, he's letting Gaylord toss him around. Look at this. He's got him up there. Brian's not doing anything to help with this. There he is being picked up in the air over his head. Here, he's just being tossed like a sack of shit across the ring. I mean, Brian's working his ass off here to make Gaylord look like something. And, if I'm this guy doing this video on YouTube, maybe this was his first time ever seeing Jeff Gaylord, and maybe that's why he thought he was a decent wrestler, because Brian Christopher, for a fleeting moment, made it appear that at least he was passable. I mean, what did you guys think of this?
I think it's like he took a lemon and he just squeezed the hell out of it, and he got all the juice. It was a big old fat lemon. And I think because Brian guided him, and Brian was good at knowing what you can do. You know what I mean? He did all that shit because he knew that's about all Jeff could offer, and he made the most out of it. And I thought watching this match back, it like you said, maybe that guy had never seen Jeff Gaylord wrestle before. And I was like, okay, well, maybe it'd be like seeing WrestleMania 6 Warrior versus Hogan. And that's the only Warrior match you ever saw. You'd be like, damn, he isn't that bad. It's the same thing. But it's all Brian.
I don't know why when you said he knows what you can do, I just had an after school special thought of him looking at somebody and going, "You can't read, can you?" I don't know why that sparked in my head, but the funny thing is, he allowed a crowd in Memphis in the early 90s to cheer for a man named Gaylord, who sounds like the most fabulous, zesty version of Darth Vader I've ever heard.
Zesty.
That's a word. That's a word my daughter taught me. That's what they call Gaylords nowadays.
I've only seen that on the sauce pack at Burger King, but we used it about Jeff Gaylord this morning. That's fun. He tosses Brian around a little while until Brian capitalizes on a distraction from Tony Adams, takes over for a little bit, but eventually Gaylord makes a quick comeback before another distraction from Tony Adams allows Brian to pull off that big ass chain, hit him with it, get the pinfall. And then that meddling ass stooge, Mike Anthony, comes in and tells on him. So Brian passes the chain off to Tony Adams, who decides, looking down the front of her dress, hey, where's the best place to hide this big ass logging chain? I know, I'll stick it in my high heel. And she goes to limp away from the ring. The fans tell Kevin Christian that she has the chain. He comes over, has her take her shoe off, pulls out the chain, and he reverses the decision. And Jeff Gaylord officially got a victory over Brian Christopher right here on television. Lord help us all.
How off-putting would it have been if she would have put it in the old prison wallet? And then Kevin Christian's got to pull it out. He does it real fast. And she's like, shit!
I don't think you should be watching wrestling anymore. This is pretty vulgar out here.
No.
Who are we kidding? We know it would have fell out. That's how Kevin Christian would have found it. She took 2 steps and it fell on the floor.
It doesn't smell like old tuna. Anyways, this show should be considered like, one of those shows where, you pay a compliment and you do that thing where it's like, you counted your chickens before they hatch. Later on, we're going to see something that we're going to be like, okay, maybe that we shouldn't have used those words at this time. We were just talking about how Kevin Christian was back, and I was like, oh, this is great. The one thing I noticed at the end of this match, Brian was pulling the tights, and in the camera angle, you see Kevin Christian looking right at it as he's making the count. And I was like, what in the world? He doesn't even know if the shoulders are down. So I don't know if it was rust. I don't know if it was a timing issue or what, but that kind of threw me. It was a good finish. I loved the finish, but I thought it was weird that, Kevin's right there, and he can clearly see the tights being pulled.
Well, he had been a heel referee up at ECW, so perhaps he forgot what his role was here.
Right.
Yeah, I loved it, man. Total spot show finish, and that's something that plays out good for TV. It's real visual. It was a good deal, and it really involves the fans. But then it sets the deal. It's like, well, is he going to listen to the fans the next match? What if Mike Anthony comes out again?
Yeah.
What business was it at Mike Anthony's anyways? Like, what the hell?
We're setting something up, brother.
That's always been my big complaint. Times that they've allowed someone to come and point something out and you reverse a decision, or they let a replay happen, or anything like that goes against the norm. Because it's like, all right, well, now that we've established this is a thing that can happen, why would the heels ever win again by cheating?
Yeah.
Shouldn't there just be a baby? And I think we've even talked about this, about some finishes on this run of shows here. That, well, now a heel should never win by cheating unless the babyfaces are just too lazy to come out there and point them out.
I don't give a shit about this one. Let that Moondog win.
And seeing how long some of these beatdowns go on, clearly most of them aren't watching the monitor back there. So next up, Eddie Marlin comes out and says it's been a rough week dealing with Vince MACK-MAN, who clearly Eddie Marlin learned the pronunciation of Vince's name from Jerry Briscoe. And anyway, I realize it's been a while since we've heard from the star of the USWA show here. So let's hear a little bit of this Eddie Marlin promo and hope this thing doesn't hang up afterwards.
I know you're not a happy man today, as we told everybody at the beginning. Got a brand new unified world champion, the Macho Man. Randy Savage has won the belt.
That's right. And, I hope I never have to spend another week like this past week. I'm telling you, Vince McMahon, either my phone's ringing, it's him, or the fax machine is dumping paper out on the floor, it's from him. Even first-class mail come in the latter part of the week, just sitting up there gloating that the WWF is superior to the USWA. Now, I've seen the match, and I'd have given anything in the world if I could have done something about it. He, of course, he was in the corner, and
he's probably responsible for Savage having the belt. He interfered.
That's exactly right. And he's sitting back up there, all red back with that chest throwed out, as Bruno said, with the lapels on his vest. But I want to tell Vince McMahon, I want to tell all the people up north in New York and all, that the WWF is not superior to the USWA. Now, these are the greatest fans anywhere in the country, and I don't care what Vince McMahon says, how many times he rings my phone, how many letters he writes. The USWA is probably superior to them, without a doubt.
Well, I think over time, how many USWA people have defeated those guys as they came through here?
And another thing that's very irritating, Randy Savage, he's sitting up there with him gloating too. And if you would, he sent a picture down, and this is exactly what they think of us here in the USWA.
King of the Hicks.
King of the Hicks. King of the Hicks. Now, all during my life, I've been knocked down, but I've always been able to get up. So I was knocked down this time, but I'm up again. And I want to tell Vince McMahon, and I want to tell Randy Savage, every dog has his day. And I'll guarantee you the USWA will have their day, and we'll get the chance to sit and gloat and send him some phone calls.
There you go. Make them sorry they ever sent that picture that like that. Thank you, Eddie.
There's so many things there. We're probably superior to them most definitely. You can't say probably and most definitely in the same sentence.
Yeah, that's like I told Josh. I was like, that's like when I asked my dad, like, "You coming home, right?" Probably. It's like, yeah, well, I'll be there, champ. I call you champ because I don't remember your name.
If your fax machine's dumping all the papers out on the floor, you need a new fax machine. That's more of a fax machine problem than a Vince McMahon problem. But
I told y'all that was the most shocking part to me, that they had a fax machine, because that assumes that there is a fax number, which is an extra bill. You know, that's an extra phone line in the early 90s, you know, when long distance wasn't, you know, just free. You know, you had to pay for that. So it was like, you have a fax number? I wonder if they had a regular phone number that, you know, they'd answer and then they'd hear Chewbacca's voice. I'm like, call me back. I won't answer it.
We're not bringing him in.
Yeah.
I assumed that probably the faxes were going to Jarrett's construction business, and then they were just getting passed over to Eddie Marlin, you know, who was probably there, you know, doing whatever he did for his side job with Jerry Jarrett, besides, you know, being the storyline matchmaker. But man, there's so much stuff in this where you're just like, I just wonder. I don't usually play Eddie Marlin promos, but this one, I was just, as I watched it, like my eyes was just like rolling out of my head each thing he said here. But then, yeah, my favorite line though was, "We're probably we're probably superior to WWF."
Oh, what a prophetic words!
Yeah, because we'll see here in a minute a fine example of just how superior they are to the Outlaw show in West Memphis, much less to Vince McMahon's WWF.
I wonder if I'll save it. Yeah, I'll save that line for later.
And there was actually more to this promo, but it got cut because then it would play into parts that the other crowds wasn't going to see. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the show when we talk about what we find out from the Observer. That this Eddie Marlin promo wasn't just out here to whine that, you know, Lawler lost the title and now Vince McMahon and Macho Man's being mean to us and sending us ugly pictures that say King of the Hicks. There's actually a match being set up here, but we couldn't show it because they're not going to deliver it. So I really don't know why, other than the fill time, this was even on this show. But like I said, more about that later. But right now, let's go ahead and take our first podcast commercial break. And then when we return, it's going to be Doomsday.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people, Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen if you know what's good for you.
All right, we are back, and guys, it's pretty exciting. We've got someone new showing up here in the USWA, and he doesn't look like he just, came from across the bridge over in West Memphis, like Contract Incorporated or the Dog Catchers of the Week. This guy looks pretty impressive. I just remember thinking as he come through the curtain, I could hear Vince McMahon's voice in my head going, That's gotta be Doomsday. But then again, now size-wise, yes, he looked impressive. Gear-wise, I don't know. Of course, look who's with him. Boss Paul, looking very pleased with himself.
They're on the air, people.
That mask, though, man. Whew.
It looks like that Radioactive Man mask from The Simpsons, but it's black.
Could very well be. So, yeah, Doomsday in latter day USWA post. Well, let's just go ahead and say this is the future Kane. He's also the future Isaac Yankem DDS. He's also the future fake Diesel.
That's how I know him.
And so after Isaac Yankem and after Diesel, Doomsday returns to Memphis, except this time he's got more of a quote-unquote Lord Humongous look. He's got the hockey mask, and he's got the not exactly the same bondage outfit that Sid and Van Camp and them wore, Demolition and all that, but it's a very different look than this. But I figure since, this is our first look at him, we probably ought to watch a clip of Mayor Kane here and get a feel for what we're up against and what Boss Paul has apparently replaced the dog catchers with.
He goes against Big Doomsday.
What do you want, Paul?
He's
more magnificent body.
Well, I got to admit he's big. Other than that, I wouldn't have much to say till I see him wrestle. He just broken the rope. He threw TD back in the rope, and the bottom rope is broken.
Well, they call him Doomsday. Everywhere that man has been, they didn't have paramedics or ambulance. He hurts.
Boy,
big suplex on TD. And
snapped him over in that suplex.
Can you imagine the power of throwing somebody into a rope that you break the steel cable?
TD back into the rope. Look out. Boy. Big control this one so far. And that's saying something when you're going against TD Steel.
Look at this.
Wow.
TD down.
The power slam and a big leg. And Doomsday goes for the... Yeah, he does go for the cover. Count of 3 falls.
He got him.
Well, Paul Neighbors got one thing right. It's over.
Yeah,
and the winner's Doomsday.
All she wrote for TD Steel, and Doomsday took care of him quickly.
Wow, who pins somebody with a leg drop? I love that Boss Paul says, this man's so dangerous everywhere he goes, they either have to have a paramedics or an ambulance.
Oh, yes, I enjoyed that. I rewound it a few times.
I just love the fact that after we give this rah-rah speech about how we're probably superior to the WWE, who's a multi-million-dollar company that has more than one fax machine, I guarantee you that immediately the next match, within seconds, our shitty ring breaks. And it's, imagine this, the only rope that fails is the one where the turnbuckle's covered in gray duct tape.
I know, right? What are the odds?
But and then I wonder, this is what I was going to say earlier, I wonder if Eddie Marlin had that, Steve Urkel moment where he saw that rope break and he just, did I do that? When I flipped the rain truck, did I cause that turnbuckle to loosen a little bit too much?
Oh, I think he shook out the spare turnbuckles in the process because they never fix it.
Can somebody go over to I-45 and pick up that ring rope we didn't get on the side of the road? It's important now.
What's crazy to me is, like, not long ago on the 1985 show that me and Ray Russell was covering, They snap a ring rope. Dude hits the ropes, and the top rope snaps, and he goes out on his head to the floor. It's one of the jobbers though, so they didn't really care. And then a few weeks, like the following week, I guess it was after they, I guess, kind of rigged the rope back together. The next week, Tracy Smothers goes to jump in over the top rope, and when he grabs that top rope and pulls it, it just ping. He falls off the ring. I'm like, y'all had a week to correct this shit. So just like this show, we did a whole show with 2 ropes. They had a week to correct it, and it breaks the first time somebody literally touched it. And so here we are in 1993, 8 years later, we haven't learned, hey, maybe we need to keep an extra set of ropes around and have a plan where if on live television our ring breaks, we're not just up here like assholes with 2 ropes for the rest of the show, especially after I just got through saying we're not as good, but superior to the World Wrestling Federation. My goodness.
Well, probably.
Probably we're superior, mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but the thing you could say is on this show, let's foreshadow a little bit, Gene. The one good thing that we can say, it's the bottom rope. We don't need the bottom rope for anything, right? Maybe that won't come back.
Get rid of that anyway, really.
Yeah, maybe that won't come into play later on in the show.
Can't imagine it will, but stay tuned, folks. It could, I guess. So then Dave brings out the USWA Tag Team Champions, Moondogs, Spike, and Mike Anthony, along with Richard Lee. And I know we seem to be watching a lot of clips this week, more than usual, but we've got to see this. I love how this promo starts out, and Richard Lee's just trying to brush off Mike Anthony, like, all right, thanks, get on out of here. This is actually kind of fun.
They got the belt.
Yes, sir, David. It feels good too, brother. But I've got a big kennel, Dave. You know that as well as I do. I've got a big kennel. We went out. We won the titles. They thought that they had my dogs out of commission again. But they're wrong, Dave. They're very, very wrong. Because what I've done, I went up on the mountain. I got my biggest, I got my baddest dog. I brought him in here. I'm going to bring him out here for you right now, Dave.
Well, the whistle blows, and here comes Splash with a chair in hand. Look out.
This is 440 pounds of rockin', stocking, mean, vicious Moondog, baby. Vicious Moondog. And, Mike, I want to say something to you, too, brother. When I was short of Moondog, you came in there, you stepped in, and you filled in for me, all right? You evened up the sides. Yeah. And everybody can see Mike Anthony's got the blonde hair. Mike Anthony's got a good body. But, Mike, you're obviously not a Moondog. Everybody knows that, right? Okay. But, listen, what I want to do is I want to thank you very much, Mike. Here.
What are you doing? Taking a belt
I want to thank you very much, Mike, for filling in, taking care of us, and helping us out, all right? I appreciate it. Now, thank you very much, Mike. Now,
hang on a second, Mr. Lee. I'm really confused here. I was fighting side by side with you guys.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much, Mike. Thank you very much.
No. That belt is as much mine as
No.
yours.
No, you're not a Moondog. Do you understand that?
No.
The contract was signed for it to be against the Moondogs. That's it. And so when we won the titles, my dogs won the titles. So thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it.
I filled in. I fought. It was my determination and my hard work, just like you guys.
Yeah, that's great.
I was part of it.
I admire determination. I admire determination. I admire heart. But thank you. You're not a Moondog.
Three of us.
You're not a Moondog. Do you understand that?
But I was there, though. I worked with you guys.
Sure you did. I asked you if you would come in and help me. You did.
Yes.
You did. I appreciate that.
And we won the championship.
I appreciate it. All I can do is shake your hand. Thank you. Now, go on. I got a lot to do. I got a lot to do. Get out of here.
I'm a champion, too. I worked with you
You're not
guys.
a champion.
Yes, I am. It was my work to help win those belts.
No.
Mr. Lee.
I cleared this thing to Eddie Marlin for you to come in here. I cleared this to Eddie Marlin for you to
Let's get
come
Eddie
in.
Marlin in here. Eddie Marlin will tell you.
I don't need Eddie Marlin. Now get out of here. You're not a Moondog. You're not a part of the deal. Get out.
Myself. I won this just like you. Myself.
Hey! Come on! The Moondogs attack Mike Anthony.
What in the Sam Hill? Mike Anthony was one of the tag team champions, Dave. As he says, you got to agree with Mike in there.
Well, he was the legal man in the corner when the belts were won. And half
Not a Moondog, Dave Brown. I tried my best to explain that to him. He's a young, dumb punk, and he's not going to make a name off of my dog.
Well, Richard, he's not a Moondog, but he is half the championship team. That's the way it was won.
Yeah, Mike's got a big point in there.
He does. Richard, the only point Richard Lee has is that, Mike is not a Moondog.
Mike Anthony in there. He says in there at least 3 times in that one little segment there. As much as we've been against the Moondogs and Richard Lee recently, Mike Anthony comes off so lame in this. I'm actually like on Richard Lee's side in this. I'm like, yeah, dude, just fuck off. All right, man. I worked hard, Mr. Lee. I was one of the champions. I was like, beat his ass. Come on.
I think if somebody was giving me an option to get out of the Moondog tag team I was in, I'd run. I'd be like, thank you. I'd send a fax saying thanks. That's how quickly I'd leave the building.
Here's your belt back.
Yeah, here you go. Did you notice how easily the Moondogs rolled into that ring without that bottom rope there? That was lovely.
I think they're going to see some advantages of this. I don't know. We might not have a third rope next week. We'll see.
Why did Richard Lee go, you're not a Moondog? Why did his voice inflection change so much when he said that at the end? You're not a Moondog.
I don't know, but I love when he finally bowed up and just shoved him. He was like, get the fuck out of here.
That's what he's used to working with dogs. You just, when you don't want one, you just drive it out to the woods and go, get out of here. You're not a Moondog.
Clap it. Get out of here.
Get.
Makes me wonder about this singing career I keep hearing that he had. Like, that's how he sings. But I love how smooth they just snatched the belt away from Anthony and handed it to Splat.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Mr. Lee, I worked hard.
I didn't need Dave to go, well, don't take the belt from him.
Oh, come on.
I knew. As soon as Richard Lee broke out the whistle, that's how I knew it was total change, because good guy Moondogs don't have the whistle involved. Richard Lee don't break the whistle out. It's like when they're heels, that's when the whistle's reintroduced.
There was so many things to break down with this one, just like, the Eddie Marlin thing. Like I asked Josh, I was like, he's having to bring this feral, uncontrolled Moondog out of the back. I was like, who was watching that Moondog? I was like, I bet you're going to go back there and that couch cushion's going to be all tore up and shit's going to be all over the floor.
A new guy comes into the territory. It's like, they ought not be keeping that man in a cage back there like that.
They can't fit
No,
in
it's
that
a
large
Moondog,
kennel.
Randy. It's all right. It's all right. He's a Moondog.
Neighbors brings that with him everywhere anyway. It was already here. So not a problem.
Yeah, but he's sharing that space for that poor woman in there. She's all smushed up against the cage.
She finally quit hollering after a while. So after months of complaining about babyface Moondogs, we now have heel Moondogs, but I don't think the shit's going to get real good right now because of it. And even worse than that, Mike Anthony is going to be teaming with apparently Jeff fucking Gaylord to feud with the Moondogs. Oh my God.
I'm excited about that because heel Moondogs, if history repeats itself, they whipped the shit out of everyone they faced with all kinds of plunder, baby. And so we're probably going to see Jeff and Mike at the same time just get the dog shit whipped plumb out of it.
I told you guys last night, I was like, I have this funny thought in my head. They told Mike Anthony, he's like, look, don't worry about it. You're going to get beat down. You're going to lose half your title. You're going to lose your title, not half your title. They're not going to come out there with a miter saw and cut the damn thing in half. You're going to lose. You're going to lose your title. Your half of the and you're going to get beat down on TV. You're going to look like a big nerd. But don't worry, we're sending somebody to save you, and they're going to be your new tag team partner. And Josh made a perfect, addition to that. He's like, they probably just told him, we're going to send Jeff out. And he was thinking,
the fabulous one?
That's fabulous. It's going to be great. And then as he's getting beat down, he looks through his blurred vision after taking a Moondog splat, forearm to the head, and looked up and saw fucking Jeff Gaylord coming off the top rope.
Fuck me. Gaylord.
They didn't tell him all of this beforehand because his ass would have left the building.
Oh, yeah, you can't. He wouldn't go out there if he knew that's just payoff.
So wait, you gonna beat me down on TV? You gonna tell me I'm not a Moondog? And then my tag team partner is gonna be Jeff Gaylord? Don't work for me, bro.
Similar, y'all wear the same colors. I don't know, man. If the Moondogs will wail on Jeff Gaylord with chairs like they used to do, the enhancement guys, this may all pay off. They may win me back up. I may become a Moondog fan. It's too soon to tell at this point, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, match number 3 on today's show is the American Eagles taking on the Scorpion and Sergeant O'Reilly. So, this week, they both have on white boots, and I think it's pretty damn obvious which one's Tony Williams this week and which one's Ken Wayne. So, no Uncle Danny, unfortunately. That's never good. But they get a few spots in before PG-13, and little Midget D hits the ring in there, and they attack the Eagles, and they hit their finish with the hubcap on both of the Eagles in there and leave them laying. Midget D he meant business today, didn't he? I mean, he's a difference maker for PG-13. You got to admit, since Midget D has shown up, PG-13 has been, booked more, stronger and in a more prominent role, or at least that's what it feels like.
And thank God he's got all that upper body strength, right? Because no bottom rope, he had to pull up with the hubcap on him.
It was impressive.
He looked like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat with that upper body. He'd flip over and he'd pull it back up.
Yeah,
he manned himself up, and then it looked great.
Looked like little Ninja Warrior in there.
So PG-13 and little Midget D. Every time I say his name, I have to say it like Corey Macklin because he always throws in the little to it, which is it's both fun and annoying at the same time, which kind of describes Corey Macklin to a T, if I'm being honest. But once PG-13 clear out of the ring, thought we were done with these guys for the day, but no, we're not. We get a promo from the brand new tag team of Jeff Gaylord and Mike Anthony, and I'm sorry, I can't pass this up. We're going to have to hear a little bit of this, guys.
Boy, Mike really got pounded by the Moondogs a little earlier there.
Richard Lee, you showed your true colors today, man. I fought my heart out for you guys. I did my very best, and you stabbed me in the back like you did. Well, that's not right. That's not right at all. I may not be the biggest man in the world, but I got a lot of heart, Richard Lee, and you're about to find out how much heart the Tiger Mike Anthony has. And I got myself a big partner here, the big cat, the big tagger, Jeff Gaylord.
Richard Lee, I used to have a lot of respect for you guys. After this guy fought his heart out and won those belts for you, and to treat him like that, you showed us what the jerks you really are, and I can't wait to show you what we do to jerks.
Well, there's a word from Mike. Here's Eddie Marlin.
Why these two guys out here, I understand it's exactly how Mike feels. And after watching what happened today, y'all want a match with the Moondogs?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we do. You please do.
Okay, we're going to sign the match. After all this spectacular card, we're going to add this match to the card. It'll be Mike and Jeff against the Moondogs.
All right, added match. You got
Richard Lee and the Moondogs, you got a fight you want. It's a fight you got. We're going to end this in the ring, and we are going to come out on top, man.
Be looking for that one. Mike Anthony, Jeff Gaylord.
Wow.
So much to unpack. Every segment has had so much to unpack. The fact that Eddie Marlin comes out and he's like, after this spectacular card, we're going to add this dog shit to it. The people got to have a piss break, Dave.
I mean, I didn't think they could find anybody to match Jeff Gaylord for like worst promo and just the whole like lame ass tone that he has. But they match. They are freaking promo twins out there. If you're listening to the audio version of this, it's hard to tell where one stops and the other starts, right? I mean,
yeah, and we were actually talking about it during the clip. He kind of sounds like Jumpin' Jeff Farmer got a little bit better, just a little bit better. And then I told Josh, I was like, if my name was Gaylord, I don't know if I'd wear pink like tiger tights. Like, feel like you're steering into the skid there.
Moondogs, you turned the tables on us. You turned the tables in a bad way. Now it's time for us to do the challenging. Yeah, I do hear a lot of Jumpin' Jeff Farmer in that now that you mention it. But, I mean, take a look at these guys here. There's your new top babyface tag team right there. Jeff Gaylord looks like he's unsure about should he even be here right now. This doesn't make me look weak, does it? We look tough with our hands on our hips, right? We talked about this for 30 minutes, and we're like, what are we going to do? Like, let's just both put our hands on our hips. That'll look intimidating.
He probably just looked at Mike and was like, which camera do I look at? And Mike's like, well, there's only one out there. That's why he looks so confused.
Well, one had a red light on it, and I didn't know if that meant stop looking at it or stop talking. I do know red light means stop. I am aware of that. Yeah, well, let's just thank God he didn't get to telling about his accolades and
yes,
like Sleeger says, allocades.
I just love the fact that Eddie Marlin made that comment. It's like, we've got, after our great card that we have,
we realize we got a really great card. We need to balance it out, so we're gonna add this shit on there.
Yes, that's the way it sounded. It sounded like, just go ahead and put this dog shit on there. We've got a great card, might as well.
We ain't gonna sell shit at the concession stand if we don't get at least one shitty match on here. So here's where you guys come in. So next up, we hear from PG-13. And again, I know we're watching a lot of clips today, but as Richard pointed out, there's something to all these. They're not just filling time. And since we ain't heard from PG-13 in a while, I thought, hey, it would be fun to hear from JC Ice and Wolfie D.
Desk here. What about you jumping the guys from behind?
Hey, man. New haircut? Don't worry, we'll get it for you. Look at that. You know, Dave, what kind of bird don't fly? Could it be a hubcapped eagle? Wait, let me tell you something. Let me just tell you why I was so happy today, man. Because not only did we leave the American Eagles laying in there, we grounded the Eagles, but we got the world's champion right here. Look at this. Championship material. Midget D. Baby, he is the man. Dave, he can take you, I believe. He can take you easy. I know he can take Corey. Yeah, he can take Corey with you. But he can take you, Dave, real easy. Well, let's show some fun.
You okay? We'll watch. You guys have got a match.
I know he can take Corey. That's fun.
I sent you guys a message. I was like, Wolfie's just rubbing on his Midget D right there in the middle of the interview.
Yeah, he was stroking Midget D right there on TV, Channel 5 on Saturday morning. So, match number 4, PG-13 with little Midget D in there, taking on Del Rios and Ken Raper. So, this is the first week. I told you guys this was coming. So this is the first week of Del Rios without the Spellbinder gimmick. And he definitely looks like he thinks it's fun to stay at the YMCA. Jerry Lawler didn't feel Del was ready to pull off the Spellbinder gimmick, but for some reason he thought he could pull off a gay lumberjack without any problem.
That was the exact thing I was thinking, gay lumberjack. They got that outfit from Burt Prince.
If you get Mike Anthony, Jeff Gaylord, and Dale, like they could run a Chippendale show.
Yeah, they just come to the ring to It's Raining Men, and that would be Burt Prentice's Freebird team right there. As free as a bird, pal. We went from a mime magician to a member of the Village People. I don't know, man. I get not wanting to use the Spellbinder gimmick until he's ready, but this look, I don't know whose idea this was, But my goodness, it's a big change from what we saw here just a week or so ago. So we've only got 2 ropes, like we pointed out, thanks to Doomsday. We appreciate that, Glenn. What did you guys think of this match?
And that duct tape that wouldn't quite hold. It was a serviceable match. The funny part was, like I said, oh, and y'all said Tony Williams came in later, right? That was the little one that came through.
Yeah,
the little American Eagle. That was
the little American Eagle teaming with Ken Wayne today.
And I was
not that one. Well, we'll get there. We hadn't got there yet.
No,
we're talking about the main part of the match. We're going to get to the end here in a minute.
What was funny was when they tied Dale up in the ropes, so it really just looked like there was one rope on that left side.
I don't understand. So we had, first of all, when I realized, holy shit, little Midget D is fixing to try to get up on the top rope, and he doesn't have a bottom rope to step up on. And I thought this was going to go horribly, but he pulled it off. So little Midget D gets up to the top rope, cracks Dale with a hubcap, and they don't pin him. They pick him up. I mean, they have a finish right there in front of them, but they don't pin him. They pick him up, tie him in the ropes, and then hit him right in front of the referee for the disqualification. I was like, what the hell is this? And why aren't you doing it to Ken Raper, by the way, instead of poor Dale? But,
right.
Just a really odd finish. When the way he got to the top and hit him, was like, holy shit, he got to the top rope with no bottom rope, hit him behind the ref's back. It's not going to hurt Dale. He got hit with a hubcap. And then they do that screwy disqualification. But, whatever. After the match, Dale is still tied up in the ropes. So PG-13 take the opportunity to drop little Midget D right across the chest of Ken Raper. And then suddenly, hear that. Listen to that sentence over again. PG-13 drops little Midget D across the chest of Ken Raper. And then suddenly, not only do the American Eagles hit the ring to make the save, but apparently today on USWA, it's BYOM because they have brought their own midget. And, let's meet little.
When Midget D dropped in with that hubcap, the referee stopped it right there, and PG-13 will lose this match by disqualification. But they continue to work now on Ken Raper with a hubcap as they've got Del Rios tied up in the rope. Here comes some help. Hey, look at this. The Little Eagle is chasing Midget D.
Yeah, the Little Eagle. He knows Midget D. And good Midget D out. Just remember, J.C. Ice was out here earlier talking about who all Midget D can take. Right now, the Little Eagle is taking Midget D. Nice backdrop on Midget D. The Little Eagle comes in with the American Eagle. Kicks Midget D attending now.
We got here on the table, the Eagle's still working on PG-13. Meanwhile, the Little Eagle has dispatched Midget D. He's out of here. And there, congratulations all around from the American Eagles and Little Eagle.
Hey, let me give you a hint, boys. We come out here week after week, and all these people know we can beat you whether it's one-on-one or a tag match. There's better than us. Drop out of the hubcap. But then we'll bring our little troll out there and make the side that more uneven. And now, we got an equalizer here that's going to take care of your little trolls now.
Humor.
He sounds like Kenny from South Park Wayne when he has the mask on. If you had any question of who that American Eagle was, it's now completely removed. I mean, he has a pretty distinctive voice. Like, why would you let him talk? It's like, that guy sounds just like the Master of Terror. Wait a minute. Now, I want to go back and let Richard get credit for what was a very good joke. The implication earlier when we said that one of the Eagles was Tony Williams, he's implying that Little Eagle is in fact Tony Williams, which is hilarious and not far from. If you've seen them together, Tony Williams wasn't a lot taller than Little Eagle, and for a quote-unquote midget wrestler, Little Eagle's actually pretty big. But what a backdrop he gave Little Midget D in there.
Yeah, they didn't have any bottom rope, so the little guys had to bounce off their top rope, the middle rope, which is about as high as a clothesline.
With their head, basically his head is what hit the rope.
And I love the fact that we have a midget wrestler named Little Eagle, and he's not Native American. That's great. Everything.
I don't know if it's great or offensive, but it's something for sure.
But I feel like Little Eagle probably was a Native American. Did you see how he was prancing around the ring?
Oh, I think he's Lone Eagle, the little Indian guy, because he's built like him and he's wobbly in the same ways. But yeah, I forgot that they had brought Little Eagle in, and so when he come running in there, I was like, oh shit, that's right. We're gonna have two midgets running around here now.
They couldn't talk.
Josh, you fucking killed me with these wobbly the same way.
I was hoping that would just slide out. That would repeat it. Thank you for that.
I love the fact that they basically borrowed Josh's Little Eagle outfit because he was young at the time.
No, I was bigger than him, man.
They couldn't talk him out of the pants. He's like, you can have my shirt and mask, Mima, but you can't take my pants.
Well, it ain't because you know who didn't try to talk him out of the pants. That's for sure. But... So like, hey, why do you have Josh's outfit? And he's like, he left it in my car. But he was wearing something else, I promise.
While you sitting there in them pants without a shirt on, let me get a picture of you.
You look like a wrestler. Flex for me.
Yeah. Let's get down to tidy whities.
Show me a little neck. No, that's not what I mean.
Jesus.
So now we have Little Eagle joining the American Eagles to feud with PG-13 and Little Midget D in there. So that should be fun as we move forward here for a tag team feud. Besides our wonderful tag team feud with these guys, as we return from the break, we hear from Richard Lee and the Moondogs again because we hadn't heard near enough of them in that 5-minute promo extravaganza earlier. But I'm not going to play a clip of this because turns out heel Richard Lee sounds exactly like the babyface Richard Lee we've heard for the last 10 months. Little to no difference at all. Same amount of brothers, same amount of my dogs, and all that good shit. So we'll skip that one and go right into match number 5, the expiration of time main event. Jerry the King Lawler and the fabulous one, Jeff Jarrett, taking on Reggie B. Fine and Charlie Laird. Now, we're familiar with Reggie B. Fine. He's been around quite a bit this year. This is our first look at Charlie Laird, but he will be around for the next few years in the USWA after this. He will become a staple of the enhancement talent, if you will. But, I mean, this is a fun match, but it's stuff we've seen multiple times. Apparently, Lawler and Jarrett both enjoy working with Reggie B because we have seen a lot of TV matches. Matter of fact, I would say 90% of the TV matches we've seen Reggie B. Fine involved in have involved either Jarrett or Lawler or a combination of the two. But you know, fun stuff for TV. Like you say, it's kind of more house show type spots or anything. But I enjoyed it. 2 out of 3 falls. Of course, Reggie starts out by telling Charlie Laird, he didn't know who he is. So he's going to wrestle him alone. And then when he tags Charlie in, Charlie immediately gets jobbed out with a fist drop in the corner from Lawler. So he looks impressive as Memphis jobbers go. Charlie Laird's probably one of the more impressive looking guys we've seen, but he certainly didn't start out strong here. What do you guys think of the tag team of Reggie B. Fine and Charlie Laird?
Immediately when I saw him, I had this flashback to like 2007. We're doing Memphis wrestling. I think it was late 2007, early 2008. And we're at CW30 Studios. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, Charlie Laird walks in. And it was almost like as surprised as everyone was. Like, it was almost like no one had invited him to be there. And he looked great. He looked muscular. He looked like way in shape. But you could tell. I don't know if he accidentally pissed in a Cadillac that was owned by somebody that they immediately did the same thing that they did to him here. He has a great look and it's like, he'll go out there, flex a little bit and get beat by somebody. And that was it. I felt so bad for him. I'm like, dude has a great look. I don't know what it is about him. What did he do that made somebody mad that they didn't want to push him? And then right here, I saw it again. I was like, oh, okay, well, he must have done something wrong, because immediately he's getting, he's taking the loss in the tag match.
Yeah,
to the point that I'm sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I rewound and I replayed. It was so fun, dude. Like, Reggie killed me because immediately he's like, they always put me out here with all these no names. He's like, who are you? Charlie. I don't know this man. Just stay out here. Like, you said it perfectly. You could tell that King and Jarrett love working with Reggie because he's so fun, and he doesn't mind, being the butt of the joke because the flashlight's on him. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he shines when he's out there doing all that stuff, man. I had so much fun watching this back.
Yeah, the old Rock quote, he knows his role and he plays it well, and I think it's even more of like a dunk on Charlie Laird is like between the first and second fall, Reggie's asking Dave and Corey to be his partner in the next fall to get rid of this guy. And of course they both refuse. And so then in the second fall, we get a lot more of the same. Eventually Reggie walks away and abandons Charlie Laird and he gets pinned, and Reggie challenges for a rematch next week, and he wants Dave Brown to be his partner. And Dave declines, unfortunately. What a tag team that would be, Dave Brown and Reggie B.
Comes in there with all kinds of pin-up aggression and just starts like going for the eyes and shit.
Or he comes dressed as the fucking Phantom, and it all makes sense.
Yeah, the Phantoms tag team. Yeah, so that was our main event. So now we're going to circle back because I don't know where it really fell in the actual show. But in light of this not being the Memphis version and it's missing some things, it's missing a big angle involving Brian Christopher and some WWF stars. So let's let the Wrestling Observer tell us about it right now. It says Brian Christopher seems to be in the midst of a face turn. Started on the television on 10/16 when Eddie Marlin came out for an interview talking about how much he hated Vince McMahon and the WWF. Marlin said that all week McMahon had been sending him faxes with photos of Randy Savage with the unified belt, and they ended up challenging each other to a Survivor Series match in Memphis. Now, hopefully we've learned what a Survivor Series match is by now. So McMahon states that he would send Doink the Clown and Shawn Michaels, despite the fact that currently on WWF television, Shawn Michaels isn't even with the company, and Coco Beware to represent the WWF against any three guys that Eddie Marlin wants to pick to represent the USWA. So right there, already kind of wonky for Survivor Series having 3-on-3, but it's okay. I guess 3 WWF guys or perceived WWF guys was all we could come up with. So Eddie Marlin picks Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett, and he said he wanted to pick a third man who he thought best represented the USWA and who would also stand the best chance of beating the WWF guys at their own game. And since he hates Vince McMahon so much, he was going to handpick Brian Christopher to be the partner of Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett. Christopher comes out, does an interview, saying that he also hates the WWF, and while he doesn't like Lawler and Jarrett, he'll team with them to represent the USWA, but they better not blow it for him. So that is what set up the main event for this week's card, a Survivor Series match with Coco Beware, Doink the Clown, and Shawn Michaels representing the WWF against the USWA's Jerry the King Lawler, the Fabulous One, Jeff Jarrett, and Brian Christopher. So this is the beginning of the, we had the brief little face turn that didn't last with, Simply Divine here a while back. I think it was more just a maybe testing. I don't know if they were just testing the waters or they just were short on people and needed to do that for a week. But what an interesting way to do it. Now, guys, I didn't realize something until I was typing all this up. One upside to not seeing the Memphis version, besides missing out on the WWF stuff here that we probably needed, did you recognize anything else that was missing from this show that normally we're having to see on the Memphis version? And if these folks have been missing these every week, I am so jealous. I don't know what to say.
I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but I immediately told Josh I enjoyed this show much more than the last ones I've been. It's like they cut the fat out.
That's fabulous.
There it is.
Yeah.
You talk about cutting the fat. That is a big hunk of shitty fat that they cut out. Yeah, and bad news, Richard. I know you're not going to be with us next week. Next week's is another abbreviated version that's not the Memphis version. So we're going to take our final podcast commercial break, and when we come back, we don't have Dave and Corey running down the card for Monday night because we're not really promoting the Monday night card. So we're going to go over some results, but we're not going to have a card to lead into it. But I think we'll be all right. So let's take our quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Jackson, Tennessee, get ready for a night of non-stop laughs at Cody's Sports Bar and Grill. On May 10th at 7 p.m., we're bringing some of the best comedians in the area to the stage. Tickets are $10 at the door, but why pay more? Grab yours in advance for just $7 at codyscomedy.eventbrite.com. Great food, cold drinks, top-tier comedy. What more could you ask for? This event is 18 and over, so make sure you bring your ID and your best sense of humor. Comedy at Cody's Sports Bar and Grill, May 10th, 7 p.m. in Jackson, Tennessee. Be there.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday at noon, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school, but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, guys, it's time to answer the questions about this week's show that we always ask. So here's the first one. What was your least favorite part of this week's show?
Least favorite part. I guess I would have to say that even though, we've trimmed the fat, it was the multiple appearances of certain people. You know what I mean? Like, it felt like we had 2 segments with everyone involved. And it didn't have to be that way. You could have just done one segment. It's almost like they didn't have enough people show up. We have 8 people. Let's do our hour and a half show, and let's, recycle them as much as we need to. That, to me, that always bothers me, because I was one of those kids, like, once I've seen you once and you've left, I don't need you to come back. Make me miss you. And I can't miss you if you're here. So, yeah, it was the multiple segments that people were appearing in. It didn't leave anything for later for me.
So mine is just, it has to be the obvious. We don't have a backup turnbuckle. We don't have a backup whole set of rope. You know what I mean? With turnbuckles attached. No, we don't have any spare parts to make this shit work. Like you said, I mean, if that's all it would have took to take, just the time during a commercial break and fix it. But instead, they just removed it. And, I think even like rigging it up there, like you were talking about, they did in 85 before the show or whatever, like something to where maybe, we'll rig it up to where it looks like there's one, just don't use it. That looks better than just not having one. And I don't know, it doesn't bring a good case to we're probably better than WWF either. So I don't know. It really took me out of it visually. And the package is really important to me.
Anybody got a MIG welder?
I've had to say that a lot in this season. Something amazed me, going back to the 85 thing again real quick. I've been on shows where the top rope is broken. And usually, whenever they repaired the top rope, the next week when we set it up, unless there was a color scheme that had to go a certain way, you put that broken rope on the bottom because it's the one that gets the least use. But we broke the top rope, and then we went a whole rest of the show without a rope. And then the next week, we put that same rope right back on top, and then it immediately breaks again. It's like, why would you not have cycled that out to the bottom? Because that was back in the days where the damn ropes, like, they didn't even tape over the water hose. Like, you could tell it was freaking water hose around the damn cable. Like, but anyway, that's a whole nother story.
I'm going back to the theory that bottom rope was already broken and someone knew about it, and they probably forgot to tell the wrestlers, whatever you do, stay out of that far corner over there because it is held together with duct tape. It was the only one that had duct tape wrapped around it. And I imagine Eddie Marlin, before the show started, said, well, that ought to hold. And then it didn't immediately.
Doomsday immediately throws TD Still in the corner, and Eddie Martin's like, fuck my ass. I can't believe he threw it in that corner. Like, Jesus, Eddie, what are you talking about?
Put him in a Christmas outfit. I'm tired of this shit.
He's going to be the Christmas creature after that shit.
We can't put him in a shitter outfit, Eddie. Watch me do
I'd
it.
watch, boy. I'd watch. You gonna dress him like a what?
Give me that Christmas tinsel. I'll show you.
So, what was your favorite part of this show?
I actually enjoyed the Reggie B part. You know what I mean? Even though as a kid, I hated it when people would stall, and do things that weren't like wrestling. I wanted to see action when I was a kid. I loved Jeff Jarrett until they started doing that strut thing all the time. And then I just hated him. I wanted to kill him. But as a kid, I would have hated Reggie B because of all the talking and non-action. But as an adult, it was one of my favorite parts of the show, hearing his comical whims and how he doesn't know who Charlie Laird is. And it was great. It was my favorite part of the show. That and the fact that we watched the cut down version of the show that looked like they took some time in editing it. So they put a little extra time in it this week, which made me enjoy it a lot more.
That's fair. Josh?
So the whole Moondog turn thing, that pulled me right in. I'm like, yes, you bland, no condiment sandwich. Now you got a little sauce on you. Now he broke the whistle out. I told you, like, that's how they're turning a little to the left. They're like blowing the whistle, calling for the dog.
And we're gonna pay for your college. Maybe not that far left.
Yeah, man, like, I never thought I would find myself saying this year after watching all these, but that segment, for probably all the wrong reasons, but it was my favorite. Like, Richard Lee, the way he was interacting with Mike Anthony, I just found that whole thing to be fucking entertaining for a variety of reasons. I don't know. It's the first Moondog segment all year that I thoroughly enjoyed, but I did. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy the Reggie B match for all the same reasons that Richard did. But I guess my biggest complaint too is the fact that this was a scaled down 45-minute version of the show, and we saw almost everybody twice.
Yeah.
The only people we didn't see twice was Doomsday, Lawler, and Jarrett. Everybody else was out here PG-13, the Eagles, Anthony and Gaylord, Moondogs, everybody.
If you count the second fall with Lawler and Jarrett, you did kind of see them twice.
That's true. So so literally we saw everybody twice and if we'd have saw the real show, Brian was out there as a straight up heel in the beginning, and then he's joining the babyface team by the end. So, and it's probably like you said, it's usually always just about they don't have enough guys there, so they're just working with what they got. It's that whole thing, like Richard has said, and I've heard a lot of people tell me this is just Lawler gets there and looks around the room and go, all right, well, here's what we got to work with, and then he makes a card from it, and that's what we've got. Now for the third question this week, I'm not even going to ask it because as of right now, we don't know what the card is for Monday night, and we don't really know the context of some of these matches. So I'm not even going to ask you that this week, but I am going to run down, just for fun, the results of the 10-16 Nashville Fairgrounds show. So everybody would have loaded up and left the studio and went to Nashville to basically, for the most part, reenact last week's card, but bearing in mind, Macho Man Randy Savage is not here to wrestle Jerry Lawler in the main event. So let's see what Nashville got for their main event that drew a whopping 250 fans in 1993.
Jeez.
Opening match saw PG-13 beat the American Eagles. USWA title match, Jeff Jarrett beat Doomsday by disqualification. Tony Falk and Miss Texas beat Brian Christopher and Tony Adams. And then in the USWA tag title and Spike's Hair versus the Masks, Moondog, Spike, and Mike Anthony beat the Dog Catchers. So live on TV, the Moondogs turn on Mike Anthony. Now they got to ride a couple hours up the road to Nashville. They got a team again. Like, no, that shit happened. And then in your main event, this is the match that drew 250 fans. A lights out match, the fabulous one. Jeff Jarrett defeated Boss Paul Neighbors. That's your main event. You put him and Doomsday in the second match on the show. Main event's him and Paul Neighbors. Anyway.
And after I beat you, Paul Neighbors, I'm setting free all those captive women you have in your basement.
My sister back.
As he's open.
We ain't seen her since she went fishing with Paul Neighbors. Keep that in mind. That is literally the last time we saw Jennifer Jarrett on television alive.
He's going to open the basement door, and as they're running out, he's going to look at the camera and go, "That's fabulous."
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I've been stuck in this cage for 4 months.
She's all dirty, wearing like a potato sack.
I've had to live off nothing but crackers and hot dog water for the last 4 months. And those little Viner wieners. Paul says that'll prepare me for what's coming later. Anyway, Monday night, October 18th at the Mid-South Coliseum. We don't know what this drew, which is sad because I'd kind of like to know, honestly, with this main event we got coming up. But Del Rios, sans the Spellbinder gimmick, defeated Tony Falk. Doomsday defeated Tony Williams. I'm curious if these matches really went in this order, because the second match on the card, Doomsday defeats Tony Williams. In the third match, the very next match, it says PG-13 drew with the American Eagles, Ken Wayne and Tony Williams. So he got that little suit on quick, if that's really the order of the matches.
Maybe they took an intermission after the second match.
Perhaps. That would be an interesting way to go, but I don't see any other way to make that happen unless he just put the mask on and was wearing his normal shit. Or if he wrestled as Tony Williams with just not the mask. But anyway, the Moondogs, Spike and Cujo, defeated Mike Anthony and Jeff Gaylord. Mixed tag team match, Brian Christopher and Tony Adams beat Coco Beware and Miss Texas when Adams pinned Texas. And we'll find out a little bit later that at the end of that match, after Miss Texas lost, Coco Beware turned heel on her. So then Jerry the King Lawler pinned Doink the Clown, and they pointed out that this Doink the Clown, not Matt Bourne, this is Steve Lombardi. So that's disappointing if you're there in the crowd.
Yeah.
But, USWA champion, the fabulous one, Jeff Jarrett, beat the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, via disqualification. So we know, the last time that Shawn Michaels came to town and wrestled Jeff Jarrett, they had a hell of a match, but not a lot of insight on how this match went. But then in the main event Survivor Series match, Jerry Lawler, Jeff Jarrett, and Brian Christopher beat Doink the Clown, Shawn Michaels, and Coco Beware in a Survivor Series style elimination match. Brian Christopher was the sole survivor. It says Lawler pinned Michaels, Ware pinned Lawler, Doink pinned Jarrett, and then Brian Christopher pinned Doink, and Brian Christopher pinned Coco Beware. So we're wanting to bring Brian into this face turn strong here, as he pinned 2 of the 3 members of that team.
Who got rid of Jeff?
Doink pinned Jeff.
Okay, gotcha.
And Jeff pinned no one in this match.
That's not very fabulous.
That's not fabulous at all.
And I love how we know Coco's going to be there wrestling in the main event, And we turn him heel in the third match.
We switch. We have to switch them to match up their teams.
Yeah.
In the tag match, Brian's a heel and Coco's a face, and we just have them swap roles at the end of the match. So, here's a little bit of details on that. It says the match saw Lawler pin Shawn Michaels to win the first fall, but then Ware quickly pinned Lawler. Then Doink pinned Jarrett after Ware hit him with a chain, which left Christopher in a 2-on-1 situation with Doink and Ware. Christopher pinned Doink after he ducked and Ware hit Doink with the chain, leaving Christopher versus Ware. Michaels tried to interfere, but it backfired, causing Christopher to get the win. It says after the match, all three heels were beating down Brian Christopher until Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Lawler made the save. But afterwards, Christopher walked away from Lawler and Jarrett rather than shaking their hand or thanking them. It says most speculation is that with Jerry Lawler now working a more regular schedule with the WWF, and Jeff Jarrett soon to be going into the WWF full-time as well, the USWA territory needs to establish a top babyface who will be there all the time, and Brian Christopher seems to be that guy. It says Lawler and Jarrett will still be able to work regularly in Memphis because the WWF only runs Monday night every third week for television, and they're off the other two. However, they won't be able to work the weekend spot shows nor Nashville as frequently. So there you go. Brian Christopher getting the beginnings of a babyface mega push because it's time for him to step up and take over for Jarrett and Lawler to some degree. So I hate that we missed that portion of the show as far as, I guess really all we missed is just a little bit of a promo from Brian Christopher because we heard most of Eddie Marlin shit. We just missed where he started setting up the Survivor Series match. But I think in our head, we all kind of know what that sounds like, right? So there it goes, another week. And like I said, I'll go ahead and forewarn everybody. I haven't looked past next week, but I do know next week's show is not the Memphis version. So I'll probably have to plug in some details. But Richard, you won't be here next. As a matter of fact, if my schedule is correct, you're only down to do one show in April, and that's on Easter. I don't know if you've realized that. So I don't know if you do that or not. I mean, it's not like I thought you were going to be in church or something, but I guess we can talk about that off the air.
I gotta go find all the eggs, Gene. We're going to get this done. I gotta find some eggs.
It's egg hunting time. But starting next week, we will be joined for a few weeks in April by the spoiler, Brian Trammell. So I guess it's about time to get out of here, guys. Make sure you check out P3 Radio. Always a fun time over there, and they usually record it after this, so we don't usually get to go over what's happening on P3 Radio. I assume there's going to be some marathon recordings coming up now. You get a lot of shows to get in the can.
We'll have to. We've got some busy springs loading up here, so yeah.
Yep. So speaking of Brian Trammell, make sure you check out stspod.club and WrestleCopia.com for all the great shows that Ray Russell provides on his WrestleCopia podcast network. And we sure would appreciate it if you would subscribe, rate, and review not only this show, but P3 Radio as well. And don't forget to call 256-EGG-IRON if you want to leave us a message or share your thoughts on the show or voice your complaints, as Richard Lee and certain other people seem to be doing quite frequently lately.
I bet he says it like egg iron.
What's that number? 256 egg iron.
Oh.
Tell him you're going to put him in an ambulance. All right, folks. That's it for this week's show. We'll see you here next week for another episode of the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast.